My name is Joe. I'm 31 years old. I was a Jehovah's Witness, and I am shunned.
All right, Joe. So how'd you come to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses in the first place? Is it something you were born into?
Yeah, so I was, born in the truth, like they say, and it was part of my life as long as I can remember. Like I remember when I was real little, I got to ring the doorbell. That was kind of the fun thing, because I was helping and passing the memorial, and my mom would be like holding the cup of wine while I was holding it, so I didn't spill it. Things like that. So it's been as part of my life my whole life.
Yeah. Well, wasn't that terrifying though? I don't know. As a kid, heck, as an adult, every time the wine was passing, the bread, whatever, but
Right.
The wine was terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Because you didn't want to spill it. You knew it would stain it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've never seen it spilled personally, but I guess everyone's careful enough.
I have seen the bread go overboard at least.
Oh no.
Slid off, I think, when somebody grabbed it at an angle.
Oh no.
I think they just picked it up, put it back on, and went on with the show.
I mean, yeah. What else are you gonna do? I guess.
Yeah. What else are you gonna do? But yeah, so it's just one of those things. Ringing the doorbell when you're a kid, maybe handing out a tract to somebody, or like at the door or something. Just those little things that you do. It's part of your life. It's normal growing up.
Yeah.
So, did it mean anything to you back then? Especially like when you're that little. How'd you feel doing that? Did it make you feel good or important?
When I was really, really little, I don't really remember. I was told I really liked it. Like I was told I loved going to the meetings. Like my dad said that I used to, like during the Watchtower study, I just raised my hand and just, sometimes they'd call on me and I would just say some nonsense that had nothing to do with the article. But from what I was told, I really liked it and, liked being a Jehovah's Witness at that age.
Can you remember as you started to get a little older, did you get into it at all? Like, obviously, we'll get later to your teenage years and all that. I'm just wondering, like, can you remember a point where you started to like it?
Not specifically.
Or it was just normal?
It was just kind of normal. Like, I remember when I got to give my first Bible reading, I was so excited. Like, I thought that was, the coolest thing. When I think I was 7 when I did that. But at the same time, so I was homeschooled most of my life, but I went to kindergarten in a public school, and like they did like this Halloween celebration, and I knew I wasn't supposed to participate in it, but I did anyway because I thought it was cool. So I don't know. I guess I don't really remember how I felt that age, but I know I liked it.
Gotcha. How did it make you see the world around you when you were growing up? What was the worldview that you had? Where obviously you got into the Halloween party, but beyond that, how did you see the world around you? Were you scared of it? Were you, did you feel like you were better than it? It impacts us all in different ways.
I remember thinking that it was just really cool that, I was so lucky I was born into the truth. I didn't have to go out and find it. It was, the one true religion was given to me as a child. And I was just so lucky to have that. Obviously that's what everyone says, but when I was younger, I really felt special because of that.
Yeah, it does make you feel special. So obviously you had to go out into the world. So let's touch on school a little bit for you. How was school for you as a kid when you went to public school? Obviously it changed, but what was your experience there? Did you feel isolated like a lot of people and kind of feel like you had to keep your distance, or were you jumping in like you did with the Halloween party?
It was a long time ago. It's hard to remember, but from what I remember, I had friends fitting great. I remember one little girl, had a crush on me and would follow me around school. And from what I can remember, I enjoyed kindergarten and made a lot of friends there.
So is that as far as you went in regular public school, is just kindergarten?
Yeah. So I should say that I had fun in public school, but there's these 2 or 3 kids that would always beat me up. And on the bus, they'd beat me up on the way home basically every day. So after that, after kindergarten, my mom started homeschooling me because the school either couldn't or wouldn't do anything about that.
Gotcha. Okay. And as we all know, homeschooling is fairly popular with Jehovah's Witnesses anyway. Often it's just used as an excuse to, and indoctrinate kids more, keep them isolated more, whatever the case may be. So I guess, what was school like for you then? When you got into homeschool, what was your educational trajectory there? Did you enjoy it, or was it truly educational from a worldly standpoint? Typical education, or was it more, just Jehovah's Witness stuff?
So I know my parents really thought they were doing what was best for me, but I didn't get any sort of education as a homeschool. It was mostly watching TV. And I don't blame them for that. But like at one point, like my math homework, I got a math home textbook, and it was like, okay, read through this and, just skip any of the problems that are too hard for you to understand. And, being a kid, I just decided the whole thing was too hard to understand, and, just played like computer games and stuff. I think, I know my mom meant very well and, had good intentions, but she definitely bit off more than she could chew, because it was me. And also I have 3 sisters, and she was homeschooling all of us. And so, I mean, that's a lot on anyone.
Oh yeah, it is. But also she chose that and didn't follow through on a basic building block of a child's life is their education, and a lot of people homeschool kids and really aren't qualified to do so. And really, I don't know about where you live, but I think locally here, I know my mom homeschooled some of my siblings, and I know that there weren't really programs to put kids in. It was really up to the parents, and most parents just, how were they going? They weren't qualified. They didn't know what the expectations should be at various grade levels, may have had no access to the books. Here, there was a big book repository my mom would go to, and you could get books, and she would create a curriculum out of it. But, just being a mom doesn't make you a good teacher, a qualified educator, or a dad, right? It doesn't make you a qualified educator. And so that is, while she meant well, it wasn't certainly the greatest for you.
Yeah. Thankfully, by the time we got to high school, like internet schools were becoming more popular.
Yeah.
So I was able to get an actual like high school diploma, and got a actual high school education, I guess.
Nice. Yeah, I know that's same with my family. I think there are high school programs out there. There's just not much under that. But so I'm glad that you were able to get that. So you say you spent most of the time playing computer games or watching TV or whatever. So that was what you were spending a lot of your time on when you were young. So let's talk about, obviously you were homeschooled. Let's talk about the environment of your home growing up. What kind of home did you grow up in? Was it a fun home? Did you go out and do a lot of recreational things and have a good time? Were you all super spiritual? What was the tone of the environment there?
So once I got to be a teenager, everything kind of changed. But when I was younger, things were awesome, actually. We were super, super spiritual. So my dad was ministerial servant, and I'm just gonna be honest, the congregation worked him like a dog. He just every night was doing congregation things. He gave parts at assemblies. We all the time would go out to other congregations and give public talks. It was kind of fun. We met a lot of people that way, and that was nice getting to see all the congregations in the area. At one point I got to do an assembly experience when I was 8 or 9. So that was kind of neat. And I always went out in service. So, my mom didn't drive. She had a lot of health problems, and it just wasn't possible for her to drive safely. And my dad obviously had a job and was busy with, congregation stuff. So when I went out in service, it was usually during the week, instead of doing school for a day, someone from a congregation would come pick me up and take me out in service that day, one of the pioneers. And I did that basically every week when I was younger. Would just go out in service with someone. And it's kind of one of those things. So I guess maybe this is a side tangent, but in the Australia Royal Commission, they were like, oh, we never separate kids from their parents. Well, bullshit. I was separated from my parents all the time. Sometimes one person would pick me up. I'd get put in a car group with some other person, and then a third person would drop me off. I mean, yeah. Anyway, nothing bad happened to me, thankfully.
That's obviously a lot. Many of us went out in service with other random strangers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that was pretty much what I did. And, it was great. Things were good.
So you enjoyed, it sounds like you were busy and you enjoyed kind of the active part of that, meeting different people, going and seeing different places. Did you miss your dad? Your dad's being so busy, doing all these things for the congregation and obviously working. Did you get a lot of time, quality time to hang out with dad, do anything together?
So we'd go in service together sometimes, which was nice. And then sometimes he'd let me stay up late to watch the David Letterman or something like that, one of those shows. And him and I would just stay up late and watch that together. And at that time I really valued, because he was so busy. I didn't get to see him a whole lot. So, those were some pretty cool times we had together.
Yeah. Yeah. I do have to say though, it kind of stinks to, for a lot of us, when a lot of time we spent with our parents was going out in service.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like it wasn't just quality time, us together being ourselves. It was out knocking on doors, serving the witnesses. For your mom, did you get to hang out with her a lot? Did you all do fun projects together, do puzzles, play games? Did you all have a fun family in that way that, kind of got together? I know you enjoy board games. Did that start young? Did you all play a lot of games and stuff? Was that a thing for you?
So according to my sisters, I would force them to play Monopoly with me. And then if they started losing, I'd just loan them money and just make the game last all day. But yeah, I don't know. We did a lot of crafting stuff with my mom. We would do we'd build trees out of newspapers and, just kind of fun stuff. Honestly, for a while there, things were awesome. It was great. As far as I knew as a kid, things were wonderful.
Oh, that's awesome. It's nice to hear, people having some of those, because those are just normal things, right? Just playing games with your family, torturing your sisters with Monopoly. These are just normal child interactions with parents and such. And it is nice to value those things because those were very real and enjoyable. So what about at the Kingdom Hall? And we'll get to your teenage years in a bit. What about at the Kingdom Hall? Were you somebody, did you fit in? Obviously your dad was a servant, was giving talks, doing different things. Did you fit in with the other kids? Did you have friends? How was your life at the hall? Did you enjoy it?
From what I remember, yeah, I enjoyed it. I had a couple of friends, really good friends that we did stuff with. Like one friend, one time I had this friend that him and I just loved Legos. We played Legos all the time. And there was some talk where they talked about spiritism or something. And so, we loved Bionicles. And then I told him, I couldn't play with Bionicles anymore because those are spiritistic. And the talk said that was bad. And it's just kind of funny. But I loved going to the Kingdom Hall. I had friends that were kids. I talked to people, all kinds of people at the Kingdom Hall. I know there was one guy that he was disfellowshipped and he'd sit in the back of the hall. And, I knew I wasn't supposed to talk to him, but every time I went back to go to the bathroom or something, I don't know. I just saw him sitting there all alone and I felt kind of bad. But, things were great at the Kingdom Hall. Had a lot of friends.
Did you ever go do anything? You mentioned you were on an assembly part. Did you like giving talks and getting up in front of people? And did you like?
Loved it.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. I think I just liked the attention more than anything, to be completely honest, because, they were all like, oh, you're doing so good. And, Bethel was always what they talked about. It was, man, you're doing so good. You're going to go to Bethel someday, or you're going to be a circuit overseer someday. A lot of positive attention. And obviously as a child, I loved that.
Yeah, and it's reinforcing too what you're doing. Did it make you want to go to Bethel or be a circuit overseer later someday?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. Up until probably my early 20s, actually, that was really my goal.
Gotcha. So it really sunk in. It was
Oh,
something
yeah.
that you were definitely interested in. Well, that's really cool too. So, all right. So, how does it go? So, it sounds like as a kid, at least up to a point, you're just loving it, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're living the only life that you know. Of course, you have nothing to compare it to, but you're enjoying it, and you have friends, and you're having fun at home. You obviously didn't hate going out in service and things with certain people. You enjoyed at least getting to be around the people and stuff. So you said that things kind of changed a little bit, like at home around when you got to your teenage years.
Yeah.
So obviously a lot of people, their youth is preparing them to get baptized at some point and then go on. So where did things start to go for you?
So things kind of went to crap in 2002, actually.
So how old would you have been then?
12.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 12. So a lot of things kind of all happened at once. So my grandpa died. And my grandma's all alone. Well, she had my uncle, but that's a whole nother story. She needed help. And so we lived out in Nebraska. My grandma lived here in Wisconsin. And so we're like, well, the Bible says you got to take care of your family. So we're going to do the scriptural thing, and we're going to move back to Wisconsin, and we're going to be close to my grandma so we can help her out. And so at the time, I didn't appreciate what my dad was giving up to make that happen. But now I could realize he had a really, really good job. Like, he had a great career. It was going places. He worked at a car dealership, and like, he was on track to be running his own car dealership someday. I mean, he had this awesome career that he gave up for this. The other thing that happened was we got a new presiding overseer in our congregation, and he was just not a good person, like, at all, just very, very narcissistic. So I don't know all what happened, because I was pretty young. But from what I've gathered, this elder physically assaulted my dad one day, like, to the point where he could have called the police if he wanted on the presiding overseer. But my dad, really, really, and he still does try to be just the good Christian that forgives. So he tried to put that behind him, and, we were moving to Wisconsin anyway. So just try to put that behind him and move on. Well, ended up...
Can I pause for a second?
Yeah.
What was that about? Why is an elder physically assaulting your father?
Oh, I have no idea what happened.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And was your dad okay?
He was okay. Yeah. Yeah. He, I remember it was a pretty big deal, and like, he didn't know exactly what he was going to do about it. But yeah, in the end, he decided just to forgive and move on.
Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. That's not something you hear every day, that the PO physically assaulted one of the brothers. That's not normal behavior, even, among the witnesses. So that was at the old congregation where you all previously lived, right? Before you moved to Wisconsin,
right?
Okay.
So we moved back to Wisconsin, and my dad talked to the elder body. He's like, it's all taken care of. We're gonna recommend you as a servant after you move. And so we moved, and the presiding overseer didn't send the letter that the body agreed on. He sent his own letter to the new congregation and just ripped my dad apart and just said he was a terrible person and all this stuff. So we got to the new congregation, and my dad wasn't allowed to be a ministerial servant or have any of his privileges at all. So that sucked for him a lot. So, here we are trying to do this good Christian thing, and frankly, he just got screwed over for it.
Yeah, that's those letters can be interesting anyway. But particularly if somebody has it out for you in some way, the guy who physically assaulted you sent his own letter, that's not going to bode well for you.
No, definitely not.
No.
So yeah, in the new congregation in Wisconsin, they didn't like us. I mean, I could tell, but no one ever, there's nothing specifically that I could be like, oh yeah, that's why they didn't like us. But I just got that feeling that they didn't like us, I was still going out in service with people once a week, sometimes some of the pioneers. And it was right around this time that I wanted to get, or first time I wanted to get baptized, right? So I went through the questions with the elders. And one of the elders was actually, I don't remember exactly what happened, but he made some disparaging comment about my dad. And I was like 12 or 13 at the time. So obviously I defended him because I'm like, well, no, that's not, my dad doesn't do that. He's a good person. And because I stood up for him, they told me I couldn't get baptized. So that was kind of tough to take as a kid.
Wow. There's it's like there's something there, I mean, from this elder. I don't know what he was saying that your dad did or whatever. Do you remember what they were saying that your dad did?
I think it had to do with like he bought a raffle ticket somewhere.
Ooh.
And they brought that up about raffle tickets and how my dad bought them. That wasn't good. I'm like, oh no, that's fine. My dad does that, or something. I don't know.
But even if he did, like, my goodness, it's a lot of drama over a raffle ticket.
Yeah.
Probably a raffle to support a good cause. Probably.
Yeah. I mean, I think most raffles are.
My goodness. All right. That's a lot of drama over that.
Yeah. So that was all kind of happening. One thing I want to make sure I mentioned. So back home, back in Nebraska after we moved to Wisconsin, half of my friends are in prison now. So what they were doing when they would go out in service, they would like case houses. And if they'd find like dirt bikes or stuff in the garage, they'd come back later and steal them. And they'd take them down to Denver and sell them. And crossing state lines with that is obviously a felony. So a lot of my friends are actually in prison from Nebraska.
Whoa, that's a big piece of information.
Yeah.
So, you say a lot of your friends. How many people are we talking about here?
Pretty much, this was after I left. So pretty much all of my friends were involved in one way or another. Two of them, one of them for sure went to prison. I think one of them went to juvie. And then 2 or 3 other kids just got like reproved, and I don't think they had any legal consequences because like they knew what was going on and they didn't say anything.
But they were going out in service and casing houses, finding things that they could steal.
Yeah, it was motorcycles and dirt bikes specifically, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So that happened out there. That was after we left. So if I was still out there, honestly, I'm sure I would have been involved with it.
Probably would have got caught up. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you didn't.
Right.
I'm sure you are too. So okay.
Oh, me too. Yes.
That's a wild story. I've never heard anything like that.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. It was in the newspaper and everything, and a lot of witnesses didn't look too good out there.
Wow.
So that was back in Wisconsin where we were. All this is going on. My dad lost all his privileges. I couldn't get baptized, and then he got a new job out there, and it was an awful job. Like the boss there was just awful to him. And a few months later, after we moved, for absolutely no fault of my dad's at all, he fired him. So here we are. We lost everything, don't have a job on the opposite side of the country. Well, not opposite, but pretty far away. And it was a pretty bad time. And my dad took it really hard, obviously. And so I understand why I understand kind of where my dad was. He definitely kind of tended to take it out on like me and my mom a lot. And he would get pretty vocal sometimes. But I understand why. I mean, that's terrible. But it kind of made me feel really bad, on top of not being able to get baptized. Now my dad, who, was being kind of rough with me sometimes, verbally. And it got kind of bad. That wasn't a good time.
Yeah. Sounds like he was under a lot of stress. I'm sure he has his own background, his own upbringing probably plays into a part too, into it too, right? But
I know he was.
It's just not. But still, it still hurts when your dad's in a bad place like that and getting pretty vocal. I think is how you said it. A lot of stress. So it sounds like things started to kind of go sour. In Wisconsin, life has changed.
Definitely. Life has definitely changed.
But not for the better.
No, not at all. Um, I was going to say something I just spaced out. Nope, it's gone. Okay. So we we ended up moving to another congregation. We just rented a house out in the middle of nowhere. Um, and that was interesting. So this new congregation in Wisconsin, um, there were I didn't really have many friends in this particular congregation. Oh, I remember what I was going to say now.
Go ahead.
And this is just kind of one thing I want to make sure I say that, you know, everything my dad, especially my parents went through, I don't have any, I don't hold that against them. I get that. The only thing I do kind of hold against them though is, you know, they saw firsthand how abusive Jehovah's Witnesses can be and kept us in it. And I just really wish that, you know, they would have seen that and said, hey, maybe this is something we don't want our kids to be around. But obviously they were brainwashed. You know, I know, like you always say, they're cult victims too. But I out of everything, that's the only thing that I wish was different.
Sure. I think we all wish our parents would have seen through it at some point. And yeah, I think most people had probably, if we all think back, we have stories where our parents were treated like garbage somewhere in the organization or something really wrong was done to them. And it, you know, it never made them question. I guess we don't know if it made them question, but it certainly didn't lead to any action or any changes. And it just led us continue down that same path. So
yeah,
would have been nice.
It would have, but what are you going to do? Past is past, I guess.
That's right.
So we moved out into the middle of nowhere. And then my dad got a new job and he was driving like an hour one way to work every day. So, and he worked a lot. So I didn't really see him that much anymore. And I already mentioned my mom didn't drive. So for a while there, it got pretty lonely. Out in the middle of nowhere. We didn't go to meetings for a while. Probably a couple years, maybe once in a while we'd go to a meeting.
Maybe some faith was shaken, or maybe it was just.
I'm sure it was.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, we spent a couple of years, and actually, I think only recently is my dad even an active publisher again. For a very long time, he wasn't. But yeah, so we went to meetings once in a while. You know, I did my homeschool, which was not much of school, and it was pretty lonely. I didn't really make many friends in the congregation at first, and so it was just kind of. It was really me and my sisters. What really sucks is up until a few months ago, I was extremely close to my sisters, and now, you know, I don't have them anymore. So that really sucks. But we really, I was really good friends with them. You know, we got really close during that time because we didn't really have a lot of other people in our lives. It was kind of just us at our house, and once in a while we went to the Kingdom Hall.
So it was just you, your sisters, and the Monopoly board. All day, every day.
Yeah, I can understand why maybe they don't like Monopoly anymore.
No, that's good. You know, it's cool that you were so close to your sisters. I know, and we'll get to, you know, things have changed, but you know, that you had that relationship, and it's at least you had somebody. You know, it is very isolating, and to at least have some siblings or somebody in that situation could be a good thing.
Yeah. It could have been worse. I'm definitely very thankful I had my sisters there with me, and I think we kind of helped each other a lot too. And we, you know, my mom was there too. I make sure I give her credit. My parents were there too. My dad worked extremely hard. We always had a roof over our head and always had food. And I mean, what more can you ask for than that, you know? One thing actually I want to mention. So during this time, I loved to read. So I would just read books all the time. And then there was some talk or something one of the meetings we went to where they talked about how, well, if you aren't reading every single Watchtower and Awake, why are you reading anything else? And that made me feel really guilty. So I stopped reading. And that sucks because I loved reading. More recently, I've kind of got back more into reading again. But that kind of stunk because I never read The Watchtower anyway. I just stopped reading the books I liked.
Oh, so you just stopped reading, period. You didn't start reading their stuff.
Oh, no.
I think that really shows something. You really weren't interested in reading their stuff. But isn't it sad how one of Jehovah's Witnesses can just be going through their lives, suddenly there's a talk or there's a magazine article on some subject, and something that witness has loved or had in their life suddenly has to go away because they feel ashamed, like they're a bad person because some magazine article told them. And doesn't that just show the nature of it as well, that it's not a matter of, you're not really thinking for yourself so much as you're listen, obey, and be blessed.
Right.
You know, you're listening to something and this thing, now it says this. So, okay, well, I've got to obey it. And, next thing you know, you're not even reading anymore. That's just sad.
Yeah. So that kind of stunk. Like all teenagers, I masturbated quite a bit.
Oh, you were the only one, Joe.
I thought I was. I know. I was.
We all thought we were the only one, and everyone was doing it at some point, right? Like,
yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. So beings. Yeah. That's not what they told us, though. I know. You're a bad person, and
you're gonna go blind.
Yeah, had a lot of shame from that. At one point, I even was setting my alarm clock like to go off every single hour, so I didn't even have like wet dreams or anything like that because I felt so bad about this totally normal thing for a teenager.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say. It's like, you're supposed to control what your brain does and your hormones do at night.
Yeah.
Like, you're shaming what people do in their sleep. Good Lord. You know, it's the control that is exerted and the shame. And look, I was ashamed of it too. Everybody was, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I figure that's something people can relate to. So.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure everyone's like, yeah.
So it was around then. I think when I was 14 or 15. 15, I think. Yeah, 15. When my mom really wanted me to get baptized. And I told her I didn't want to. Like, I just didn't think I was ready for that. And that wasn't an acceptable answer, apparently, because I was getting baptized whether I liked it or not.
All right. So definitely at the coercion of parents.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yep. So went through the questions, got baptized. And everyone's always like, how do you feel? I'm like, I feel so great and wonderful and blessed. I didn't feel anything. I don't know. I sat in a hot tub.
That is such a great point, because you just said you knew what you needed to say, right? You knew what you had to say to play the game that was set before you, and you did the thing. I remember watching a documentary once about, it was one of those groups where, I don't know, you go up in the front and the preacher blesses you and touches your head and you fall out and you speak in tongues. And I don't know if it was Pentecostal or who it was, but they were talking about how people just know psychologically the expectation, everybody is watching, and there's so much pressure on you to act the way that you're supposed to act. We all knew what we were supposed to say around baptism, right? Like, or just like at the end of every convention, this is the best convention ever. Like, how dumb is that? And the fact that we all said it in these ways, it's an expectation. It's not real. And so it wasn't real for you, but you knew you had to say it was this magical moment, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I definitely, and I remember, like, I was genuinely afraid that, like, Jehovah was angry at me, and that's why I didn't feel anything. But, I tried to keep up the act anyway.
Did she tell you why Jehovah was angry at you, or just that he was angry at you?
Oh, no, I felt that way. That I felt like Jehovah was angry at me.
Oh, you felt like he was.
Yeah, probably
because it's always us. It's always our fault.
Oh, yeah.
We don't feel this special way.
Yep. Yeah. so in around this time I was working, actually my dad would take me to where he worked and I would work there as well. So I turned 16, got my driver's license, got a car. And, all of a sudden, after years of being homeschooled, I have freedom, right? I have a car now, my own car. And I started just going to all the meetings. I didn't know what else I was going to do. So I went to all the meetings, started going out in service regularly. And I started bringing my sisters with me and my mom with me to the meetings. And at the time, I felt really cool because I was really helping my sisters like make it to the meetings and make the truth their own. Now I feel really bad I did that. Maybe if I didn't, take them with me, maybe they wouldn't have gotten as involved. I don't know.
Right. Obviously, you didn't have, your intent was pure. You thought you were doing the right thing.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure it doesn't feel good in retrospect, but hope you can forgive yourself on that.
Yeah. So yeah, I started going to the meetings. I started making friends at our Kingdom Hall. Because shockingly, you actually have to show up there regularly to make friends. And I started really kind of getting back into it myself. This was, I think, around then is when we had the campaign with the end of false religion is near. Where, we called out the Catholic Church for all the sex abuse. And one thing I want to bring up, because it'll become relevant later, one guy I talked to in service was telling me, like, oh, that's not true. It's blown out of proportion. Those priests are just, they're just human. Jesus can forgive them. All these excuses. And in the car group, we talked about that. It's like, wow, that's so sad. This man, here we're bringing him the truth about his religion, and he just wants to give us excuses. And, later, obviously, that became relevant because Jehovah's Witnesses are doing the same thing now. Mm-hmm. But it was one time, it was really, really awkward because I was, just driving myself to the Kingdom Hall. One time it was just me and this older woman who, she was a pioneer since before my parents were born, right? I mean, like, what would they call it? Like a spiritual giant. But I was 16 and baptized, so I had to take the lead in service. And, being a good Jehovah's Witness woman, she was very submissive, like, hey, where do we want to go? I'm like, I don't know. Why are you asking me? This is so awkward. Like, I had to do the prayer. I had to decide where we were going in service. It was awful, man.
Yeah. a lot of women are, and rightfully so, disturbed by the fact that even a young brother gets to come in and have all this authority, right? And so I understand why they feel that way, but at the same time, it was not comfortable being that young brother and having to tell grown-ass people what to do when you're a kid, just because you have male genitalia and were baptized. It's not comfortable to do.
No, not at all. That was awful. So yeah, that was pretty much what I did until I was 18 when I graduated high school. Yeah. So I finished high school and I left the job I was working with my dad and I got a job at McDonald's part-time because I wanted to pioneer, right? Because that was kind of the goal. You're going to pioneer, then you're going to go to Bethel. So, time to start pioneering. They also, around that time, they needed RVC volunteers. I think that was right when they stopped doing quick builds where, building a Kingdom Hall was just a big party and they handed power tools to kids or whatever they did back then. And they actually tried to train people to build Kingdom Halls. So I signed up for that and I was kind of debating, like, do I go to like college or not? That's what it was. Do I go to college or do I pioneer? It's kind of the debate I had. And I wanted to pioneer. And the guy, one of the elders with the RVC told me, don't bother with college, join the RVC and we'll teach you a trade and you can pioneer because that counts as service time. I'm like, that's perfect. So I can learn a trade so I can support myself. So I'm not going to work at McDonald's forever and I can pioneer. So that's what I tried to do. I spent years doing grunt labor, setting up tents, taking down tents, moving heavy things from one place to another. I never got any sort of trade skill of any sort. So that was...
So they never even tried to train you on anything other than the grunt work you were doing?
No, and I asked, can I join the masonry? Oh, yeah, they need help in masonry. We'll get you on that. Never did. I talked to one of the electricians once, and they're like, oh, yeah, we need more electricians. I'm like, can I do that? Can I help out with the electricians? Yeah, sure. I just never did.
Hey, Paul was a tent maker, and you were learning to take down.
Yeah, I pretty much, took down tents.
That's all you needed, right? You were like Paul.
I guess so. Yeah, so that's
terrible. Yeah, that's terrible because you were sold a false bill of goods.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I also, I kind of mentioned that, I didn't really get along with my dad too well. So I moved out of my parents' house, got my own apartment. I rented half of a trailer from a sister in our hall, and working part-time at McDonald's and pioneering and doing RBC. I was always broke all the time, but I made it work. And it was fine. One thing that is kind of funny. So I worked at McDonald's, and I worked with this former Mormon at McDonald's, and he tried so hard to convince me that I was in a cult. Like, he'd ask me these questions, and I'd just, give him the canned answers. And man, I wish I would have listened to him. Super nice man. And he really tried. He really tried to get me out, but I wouldn't be shaken.
It just shows, when you're asleep, it's not easy to wake you up.
Oh yeah.
And he was asking probably some really poignant, great questions because he knew, but
oh yeah.
Can't see it. If you're blind, you're blind at the time. So you're ready to see it.
Yeah. Right around this time, I applied for Bethel because that was the next step of my path. And I applied to go to Bethel, and they have the questions like, do you listen to heavy metal? And I was told heavy metal was basically everything. So I checked, yes, I do. And so because of that, they didn't want me in Bethel. And that was devastating, to be honest, especially when I got older and I found out that like one of the circuit overseers was a big AC/DC fan, and that would definitely fall under the broad heavy metal banner. And listening to like these some of the interviews you've done, like other people just kind of lie on their applications to make it, but I didn't do that. And that sucked. That really sucked.
You were honest, and that kept you out of Bethel, whereas other people might have lied and got into Bethel.
Oh yeah.
What's wrong with this picture, right?
Yeah. Honesty, I guess, is not rewarded.
No.
Now I'm glad I didn't go to Bethel because, I was actually able to start a career instead. But at the time, that was rough.
Yeah.
And right around that same time, I was asked to do an assembly example, where you go up and you talk on the stage about how wonderful it is being a Jehovah's Witness. And I was assigned to talk about how I make sure all my music is appropriate for Christians. This was right around the same time I got rejected for going to Bethel because of my music. But, they gave me like, this is the article that you're going to say helped you. And you're going to talk about how, how you use that to filter out your music choices. So
Question.
Yeah.
Did they already know you had been rejected to Bethel?
I don't think so. Okay. This might have actually been before I applied to Bethel. I don't remember exactly what order it happened in.
Okay. It is just funny how sometimes things like that happen. My dad was an elder. We had a miserable family life. The elders knew we had a miserable family life and met with us all the time, but they gave my dad talks on how to have a happy family life. Like they were always doing things like that. And so I just wondered if it was just coincidence or if they knew. But so you had a part around that same time about your musical choices and how you make the right ones.
Yes. Yeah. At the circuit assembly, right around the same time I couldn't go to Bethel because of my musical choices.
Nice.
So that was kind of funny.
I'm sure that, how did you feel getting up there and giving that part? Did you feel fraudulent?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I didn't like it at all. I definitely felt like fraudulent. That's the way to put it. And I did it, of course, because
of course,
I wasn't going to say no.
Of course, we all did.
Oh yeah. Actually, never being able to say no kind of was my downfall. So when I was about 19 or 20, they made me a ministerial servant. And first of all, I was shocked because I'm just going to be honest. I was watching porn at the time. And somehow, in spite of that, Jehovah guided the elders to pick me as a ministerial servant. However that works.
I have no idea how that works. That could have never happened to anybody else.
Right?
Never in a million years could that have happened to anyone else and been made a ministerial servant. Never. And I'm sure it didn't happen to anyone else. And I could probably point at a million people because, again, we're taught like there's this magic Holy Spirit that is guiding all of this and that is helping to make the right decisions, right? But like, where was it when you were applying for Bethel? You were actually being honest and all the other people lying were getting in, and stuff like that. Or you're watching porn and you're not supposed to be appointed a ministerial servant while you've, watched porn. It just shows how, you weren't the fraud. It was the fraud.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, so yeah, I was a ministerial servant and I just accepted every assignment they gave me. There's that scripture that Jehovah never asks more than we can give. And I took that very literally, as in, if literally anyone ever asks me to do something, I'll say yes, because I can do it, because otherwise they wouldn't be asking me. I really wanted to go to Bethel or the Bible school for single brothers, I think it's called now. I really wanted to go to that. So I'm like, I need to just do everything. And so for my entire life was I just busy. I was frankly getting burnt out and depressed. I mean, an average day for me, I would, go out in service in the morning. In the afternoon, I'd go to work and I'd work until usually after midnight, go back home, prepare my talk for that week, because I was giving out like 2 or 3 talks a week, sleep for a few hours and get up the next day and do it again. And then I also had RBC in there. And I mean, I never had a time to rest. I was just always doing something and I just got so burnt out. It was awful.
Can I ask you a question? And honestly, your experience here mirrors a lot of mine too. The burnout, the always busy out in service, working or doing stuff for the kingdom all. It's tough. Do you think that any of the guilt or shame that because you knew you were watching porn or because you knew you had listened to heavy metal music, do you think any of that drove your desire to not say no? Like you thought you had to do more and more to make up for what a terrible person you clearly
definitely. Definitely. Because I had to prove that I could go to Bethel or go to Bible school or, I had to prove that I could handle that and that I had Jehovah's blessing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you double down.
Yeah.
And you just do everything you possibly can to run from what a terrible person you must truly be to be human in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was exhausting. Like just trying to keep that up. And I shouldn't say like I never had any time. I did, I made some friends then that were good friends. One of my friends actually that I made during that time, I didn't know this, but he was a pedophile. So he was quite a bit older than me. I want to say he was in his mid to late 30s. And, I just thought he was a super nice guy and, we got along. And she, we hung out one day and I brought my oldest sister with and he just relentlessly stalked my oldest sister. And she was 16 or 17 at the time and was telling her that he loved her and he wanted to marry her and that she'd make a great mother and all this stuff. And like my sister would change her phone number and he'd find him on Facebook and message her and just never ending. So I didn't realize this was going on at first. And eventually my parents kind of caught on that it was happening. And so, trying to be the good Christian, they told the elders. And as far as I can tell, the elders did nothing because it didn't stop. Never got the police involved or anything like that. And so, one day I just called them up and I was furious. I don't even remember what I said, but as well as a 20-year-old Jehovah's Witness can do, I cussed him out. probably used like dangerous words like frick or something like that,
Dangerous words like what?
like dang you, or I don't know. I'm sure I didn't actually cuss out.
Gosh
Maybe
darn it.
Gosh darn it. Yeah. I was really angry though, and I chewed him out over the phone. And after that, he left my sister alone finally. I feel really bad about that, actually, that I introduced him to my sister and things could have gone much worse.
He may have been angling at that from the beginning.
Yeah, he may have. I don't know. I have no idea.
A lot of times people groom and create these situations. So yeah. It's awful.
Yeah, and he's still a witness. As far as I know, no, he had no consequences from any of that. He's married now to a woman his age, so that's good. But yeah,
that doesn't mean that the rest of anything is stopped. But
yeah, I suppose, yeah. But
unfortunately,
yeah. So yeah, anyway, that happened. So I was, after doing this for a while, I made a mistake at work. And a long story short, I thought I was being funny and I was actually really upsetting somebody. And so they fired me. Because I obviously, being homeschooled and a Jehovah's Witness, my social skills weren't exactly, great. So I won't make excuses for myself. I got fired from McDonald's, or rather they were going to fire me. So I quit because I don't want to get fired. So I quit. And so now, on top of all the stuff I was doing for witnesses, I had no income. I think this was when I was 22. I did this. And I had to stop pioneering because I had to take 2 jobs. There's just no way I was going to be able to keep up on everything because I already had a bunch of credit card debt. And that was going to come back and bite me in the ass if I didn't take care of it. So I stopped pioneering. I was still a ministerial servant, but I was working 2 jobs now. It was kind of funny. I worked at a Walmart and a Subway that were across the street from each other. And maybe I shouldn't say this. It's kind of gross, but I was a janitor at Walmart. And like I'd go across the street to Subway and make food all day, then go back across the street and work at Walmart. Like sometimes I'd work split shifts like that. And well, yeah. Anyway.
Oh, I'm sure you at least washed your hands.
Oh, I definitely washed my hands. Yeah.
So it's not like you just.
And I had to change my shirt, take off the Walmart shirt, put on the Subway shirt. But
yeah.
So I did that for a while. I was working 60 to 80 hours a week about. Was in, obviously 2 minimum wage jobs. So I was getting paid nothing. I was still a ministerial servant. I wanted to stay a ministerial servant, and it was hard. So we had like the meeting with the CEO for the ministerial servants once, and it was scheduled during when I had to work at Walmart. And I was like, hey, can I take off for this? Because, I have a religious meeting. And no, you have to be here at work. So I was at work and I just left. Like I didn't tell anyone. I just left to go to this meeting. And I worked like half an hour away from the Kingdom Hall. So I left work at Walmart, drove like 90 miles an hour down these country roads to get to the Kingdom Hall. And I got there right as it started, and I was wearing my Walmart uniform. And I figured, well, hey, I literally could lose my job for doing this, so this is okay. And apparently it wasn't okay that I wasn't wearing a suit and tie for that meeting. And I made it back and didn't get fired or anything. But I remember that was pretty discouraging at the time.
Did you get chewed out? What did someone say something to you?
Oh, yeah.
About wearing the Walmart uniform to the meeting?
Yeah, after the meeting, 2 elders came up to me and they're like, hey, you really need to dress respectfully, this isn't okay. And to their credit, a 3rd elder did come to my defense. But yeah.
But he was the minority.
He was the minority.
And let's face it, this is in front of the circuit overseer, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like when the circuit overseer comes, suddenly everybody dresses in their best.
Mm-hmm.
There's no khakis and a sport coat and a tie. Everybody's got full suits on. So you got to impress the circuit overseer. I can imagine the pressure there was tremendous.
Oh, yeah.
But they should have been just excited that you clearly, again, showed that you cared because you were doing this at great risk to try to be what you needed to be for them.
Yeah, I thought I was doing a great thing that hey, I could lose my job and I'm going to be in a lot of trouble for this, but I'm going to do it anyway. But it definitely seems like as a witness, appearances matter more than intentions.
Oh yes, absolutely. Appearance. It's all about appearance. Not a intent doesn't matter.
Yeah. I and then, so it was around this time that, like, honestly, I feel like I just get in trouble all the time, just for everything. Like, one time we went to, one of my friends in the congregation got married, and we went to his bachelor party. And long story short, I thought it'd be funny to, put on a bra. So I just put a bra over my shirt, and someone took my picture. And I had to sit down with the elders, and they had to talk to me about why cross-dressing is inappropriate. And then there was a local needs about cross-dressing and about how some people don't realize how serious this is. And this photo had been circulated. Everyone in that building knew they were talking about me. That was so awkward.
Oh, that is so cringeworthy. That is terrible.
Yeah.
They could take such petty small things and make them so abusive.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was bad. Yeah. And around this time I got a new job. I actually got a job in sales. And as it turns out, being a pioneer makes you really good at sales. So I was actually bringing in decent money. And that was awesome. I was paying down some of my debt, and my thought process was great. I have this great sales job. I'm going to do this for a while, and then I can quit and start pioneering again. Like that's what I wanted. And yeah, I was really looking for something I could do before I could start pioneering. And so one of my sister's friends, Courtney, and I bring this up because she's my wife now, and I hated her. Like I didn't like her at all. Anyway, so she texts me and says, "Hey, in my congregation, they're starting a Hmong language group, and they need people, and maybe that's something that would interest you." And I was like, yeah, that does interest me. I'll sign me up. So I signed up to do Hmong. I cannot do Hmong. I'm tone deaf. So Hmong is very, very tonal. If you say the wrong tone, it just totally changes your words, and couldn't do it. So I moved to, the city, which is, a pretty small city in comparison, but to us, it was the big city. And kept getting in trouble for everything. One time I wore a shirt with stripes on the stage to give a talk, and that wasn't okay. Had to be a solid color shirt. Just all the time. Honestly, I think we made a joke that, like, after every meeting, I would just go back to the elders' room and wait for a while because I was just always in trouble for something.
That's awful. It's a shirt with stripes on it. You cannot be a conduit for truth if you're wearing stripes, and everyone knows that. It's just so dumb, and you just get so beat down, don't you, by it over time, where you just it's the gaslighting. You're not to trust your own instincts in any way. You have to ask them if everything is okay.
Oh yeah,
you know nothing.
Yep, yeah, you know nothing. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. So that was kind of going on. And while I was there, I was kind of getting to know Courtney, now my wife. We really started falling in love. We went on an unassigned territory trip. And by the time we came back, we're just like, well, we wanted to start. I basically told her, like, hey, we talk every single day. So either we should date or should stop talking. That's how I asked her out, very romantic. And it was really weird because once we started dating, everyone just got colder. I don't know how to describe it. People didn't like us. And there's one thing I can say, this happened, but just the feeling was not good. Like one of the sisters told my wife that she should break up with me because, I was a ministerial servant and she was going to hold me back. That actually happened. That was one thing.
I thought you were supposed to date ministerial servants because those were they were from the good pool of people to date.
And she was a pioneer. So, I thought that was what you're supposed to do. But yeah, I know a lot of drama. People are talking about us. People didn't like us. Nobody would chaperone for us. They just didn't. I don't know. They just wouldn't. So a lot of times we, even though in Jehovah's Witness land, it's forbidden to be together without a chaperone, quite often we got together without a chaperone because otherwise we wouldn't see each other for weeks on end. And when you're dating, that's just not okay. And so one thing that, at the time we felt like this was a big, horrible thing, but again, it was totally normal. When we were together, we were, making out and kissing and stuff. And because of that, we felt a lot of shame because you aren't supposed to be kissing and having physical affection. I think I'd maybe put my hand on her back or something, like, stuff that's totally normal, but for Jehovah's Witnesses is so bad. Never told the elders or anything. I don't know. But yeah. So everyone in the congregation kind of hated us. We already felt guilty because, we were making out. Or we did make out that one time. My wife lived at home with her abusive mother, so she kind of hated her life. And so we didn't quite elope, but they canceled the meeting because of the convention. And then the previous week, we're like, hey, let's get married that day. So that Tuesday, instead of the service meeting, we went to the Kingdom Hall and got married. Just to kind of, get it done with, I guess.
Wow. Did you all have a wedding? Was it a small wedding or
very small?
Okay.
Yeah, we had a few family members, and that was about it. I mean, we decided maybe a week ahead of time that was the day we were going to get married. Possibly less. I don't remember exactly. So it was a very small thing. We just went.
But it was held in the Kingdom Hall?
It was in a Kingdom Hall, yep.
And an elder gave the talk, presumably?
Elder gave the talk, yep.
Clearly you all were in good standing. Why does everybody have a problem with you?
I have no idea. And I still don't know why. The only thing I can figure out is that, so I mentioned Courtney's mom was very abusive towards her, and she really struggled to make it to meetings, and maybe some people saw that struggle as a weakness. I don't know. That's all I can think of.
Yeah.
So, and we got married, and we told, people we got married, and the reaction was, oh, you're married. Like, no, like, congratulations, that's great. Just, oh, okay. Like, why? Like, I think people assumed maybe we sinned, like had sex or something, which we didn't. But what's really weird, and this is actually where I started. This is actually the very first thing I can remember that really made me question Jehovah's Witnesses. So people from Kingdom Hall were just kind of whatever about us getting married. The people I work with were so happy. They're, oh, you're getting married next week. Congratulations. That's wonderful. They all chipped in and bought us a present. And it was like night and day. My supposed Christian brothers and sisters were just totally whatever, and these evil worldly people I worked with were so happy for me. And that was really, I think that's the first time I can really remember thinking, like, what's going on here? Why are these worldly people so much nicer people than these witnesses? Yeah.
Because Satan is an angel of light.
Apparently.
Made them appear better than the witnesses.
In that case, I mean, I don't know, man.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying they always have a way of, they can do anything in their favor however they want. But yeah, it probably felt tremendous to have somebody be excited for you that you had gotten married.
Yeah, it did. It was nice. And our plan after getting married was that we were going to go to the couples Bible school. Right around that time, Courtney started developing some health issues. And so she had to stop pioneering. And after a while later, I wasn't a ministerial servant anymore. It felt like Jehovah hated us, to be honest, after we were married, because everyone in the congregation was mad at us. Courtney had to stop pioneering. I had to stop being a ministerial servant. But, I guess that's just how it is.
Felt like Jehovah hated you.
Oh, for sure. It really did.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can probably relate to that, have had experiences where they were trying so hard to do all the, quote, right things, and there was just no support. Mm-hmm. As I'm listening to you tell all this stuff, what's just coming into my head is, where is the love?
Oh, yeah, there is none.
Where's the love? Jehovah's loving organization. Where is the love? You don't see it. They don't have love for the people on the outside. They say they do because they go preach to them, but they talk crazy about people outside all the time. You know,
Mhm.
talk, you know, about taking their house after God murders them.
Right, yeah.
And stuff like that. There's no love there inside the congregation. You're trying to do the right things. You're working hard for Jehovah, whatever. But where's the love? Where's the support for someone who's trying so hard to do what he thinks he's supposed to do and what they're telling him he's supposed to do? Where's the payoff?
Yeah. Yeah. It was something.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah. So around this time we moved to the congregation that I grew up in Wisconsin, from the city back to where I was before I moved to the city, in Algoma. And for a while, things were pretty good. We bought a duplex. It ended up being a disaster, but at the time it was great. And we would have people over and have like little bonfires in our backyard. And for a little while there, it was actually pretty good again. I wasn't, we had no privileges and I had to sit there and listen to meetings. I never realized how boring meetings are until I actually had to listen to them. Because when you're running around with microphones and giving talks every single meeting, you don't really listen to them. But when I actually had to sit and listen to them, gosh, they're boring. I just had a hard time paying attention to the meetings. So I signed up to go to college. I was going to try to get an associate degree because, a bachelor's degree is bad, but an associate degree is okay. And then I don't remember if it was a convention or an assembly or what, but they talked about that scripture, taste and see that Jehovah is good. And that is burned into my mind because we're like, wait, I'm going to college and we're not pioneering. Why are we doing that? We have to trust Jehovah. And so I dropped out of college, right away. And my wife started auxiliary pioneering and she had some health problems. So the understanding was that I would work and do as much around the house as possible. And she would pioneer. And that would be us seeing that Jehovah was good and he would bless us for that.
So it's just another example of going to a meeting or a convention or reading in a magazine. You're told something and instantly the trajectory of your life has changed again.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you quit reading earlier on in life. Here, you just started going to college and now taste and see that Jehovah is good. And boom, you drop college.
Yep. Yeah. I would be graduated by now if wasn't for that.
But remember, it's not a cult, and everyone in it is totally making their own decisions, and nobody is being coerced in any way.
Yeah, something like that. So we start doing this. Courtney was able to auxiliary pioneer for a whole year in spite of her health issues, and it was awesome. Like, it was great. We were doing it. One of the elders told Courtney, like, why are you auxiliary pioneer? Why not regular? So she applied and was approved. Like, they're like, coming up soon, we're going to announce that you're a regular pioneer. And it was awesome. It's like, okay, we're doing the right things. We're getting back to where we want to be. It's great. But this is I guess I could say this is the second time everything went to crap. How's that? So my wife got pregnant, and we lost the child. So that was really hard. And then right around that same time, one of our cats died, or rather we had to put her to sleep because she was so sick. So that was really hard, because we loved that cat. And then, so one day, my wife was out in service, and this older woman who was the service overseer's mother-in-law and living with them hit my wife with her car in service. And really injured my wife. And you know how witnesses love to gossip, so that got spread around to all corners of the congregation. My wife didn't go around spreading it. But she was in a lot of pain. And this woman just acted like nothing happened. And I asked her once, I'm like, hey, can you just at least apologize to my wife? Like, she's in a ton of pain. If she gets it was an accident. Can you just apologize? It would help her feel better. And instead, she told my wife that to stop slandering her, like stop telling people that happened because it didn't happen. So then again, trying to do the Christian thing where, you talk to one person, it doesn't work. She lived with the service overseer. So I approached the service overseer and I said, hey, listen, here's what happened. Maybe your mother-in-law shouldn't be driving. Maybe, you could talk to her and just ask her to apologize to Courtney. And he just said, well, do you want her insurance information? Because you can have that if you want. Just no love at all. None. And I'm like, no, I don't want you to pay for the medical because she had to go to the hospital. I don't want you to pay for that. I just want you to say you're sorry. Someone just apologize to my wife so she doesn't feel so bad. And nobody ever did.
I'd say I would like that and for you to pay for the damages. But
I wish I would have asked for the insurance info. Yeah, but
at least you would have got something. But because why should you pay? But it's just sad that, they can't even just be human.
Yeah, nothing.
Again, where is the love?
Mm-hmm. If I had someone with my car, I'm pretty sure I would be going out of my way to try to help them.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah. That's terrible.
Yeah. So, and then it's very relevant that it was the service overseer's mother-in-law because, so, we had to put our cat down. We had that miscarriage. We asked the elders to meet with us on a, what do you call that? Shepherding visit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
where you need encouragement. And we asked them to meet with us and hey, we're really beaten down right now. We could use some encouragement. They took that time to tell my wife that our house wasn't clean enough and she wasn't allowed to be a pioneer now. When we came to them, because we were so beaten down, and instead we just got slapped in the face. That was awful.
Again, where's love?
Yeah.
God, you come into somebody's house and criticize it and then take her down as a pioneer.
Yeah.
All you all were looking for was some encouragement and some kind words and something uplifting, and they couldn't even do that.
No, nothing. And it was obvious the real reason was because the service overseer was mad.
Of course.
And that's the real reason. So that sucked. And the other reason they gave, not just, the house being dirty, which I don't know, maybe it was. They also told her that with her health problems, they didn't think she could do it. She auxiliary pioneered for a year and was getting close to 100 hours every single month. So there was no doubt that my wife could do it. And then shortly after that, they told her that she wasn't allowed to auxiliary pioneer either because she wasn't a good example. I don't know why. Yeah. So that sucked.
Also, that's kind of misogynistic. Why
yeah.
is the house dirty? Her fault.
Yeah, right?
I was thinking about that. That's the house is dirty, so it's your wife's fault, and she shouldn't be a pioneer anymore because she's not a good example.
Actually, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, because keeping the house clean at that time was my job. I said I would do that so you can pioneer, but they blamed my wife for it. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Huh.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Interesting. So obviously we were pretty beaten down. We ended up moving. I had a job in, back, in the city. So we moved to Appleton, new congregation. And then a few weeks later, and this is something I really want to make sure I say right. So a few weeks later, in the middle of the night, my phone starts ringing. And normally I turn my phone off or I silence it before bed. So it was kind of weird that I didn't do that. And I pick up my phone and it was my wife calling me at 2 a.m. And I look over and she wasn't in bed with me. And I answer the phone and she's crying. And she says that she just wanted to get my voicemail to say goodbye and then hangs up. She was trying to kill herself and it was just, she was just calling me to say goodbye. So, I call her back 15 times, trying to get her to answer the phone. And eventually find out she's in the garage with the car running because she answered and told me where she was. So she just felt like that there's no reason to live because Jehovah hated her that much out of everything that happened to us. So I got her out. I took her to the hospital. Yeah, that was awful. So I took her to the hospital. I called the elders in our new congregation and I told them like, hey, this is what happened. My wife's in the hospital. She really needs some encouragement. Can you go talk to her? Gave her the hospital name, the address, the visiting hours. They never visited her. And this was a different elder body. And again, just no love, no compassion. And it's so frustrating. And again, the people I worked with were so nice to me. They, I had no problem taking off as much time as I needed. They just jumped in to cover my work so I could leave. Just so much more love from not witnesses. And after my wife got out of the hospital, they wanted to sit down with her and, talk to her about what she did because, maybe she's in trouble. But again, no, you couldn't go to the hospital and read a scripture to encourage her. Like,
no, they couldn't. And I'm sorry all this happened. I know how the witnesses can make you feel so down that you don't feel, it just feels like, what's the point? It's a lie, but it's the lie that you feel because you've been surrounded by this web of lies and by this just unloving, just totally bereft of any empathy group of people. And please tell me, so she goes, so afterwards she gets out and the elders want to meet with her. She didn't get in trouble, did she?
No.
Okay.
She didn't get in trouble.
Okay. I was like, please tell me they didn't go that low. No. I mean, they're low enough already, but let's not add fuel to the fire. You already caused the fire. Don't blow it up. They're so unqualified and they so don't have any clue what they're doing or understand how humans work or psychology or anything. It's all just about rules and ticking boxes and keeping up appearances. And that's all it's about. So there's just there's no depth to any of it. Yeah. I'm so sorry that, for you and your wife, that Courtney was made to feel that way, that she was put in that position, because nobody should ever have to feel that way. And Jehovah's Witnesses make people feel that way on the regular.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She's in therapy, or she went through therapy, and she's so much better. So much better now, I should also add. It has a happy ending, thankfully.
And I'm sure a lot of that happy ending revolves around waking up.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I can say the same for myself. I was in that place too at one point in my life, and it was waking up to the realities and the emotional abuse, the spiritual abuse, all of the abuse of growing up, one of Jehovah's Witnesses and living that life that culminated in feeling that way. And so, realizing that it's a huge burden off your shoulders, huge weight off.
Definitely. Yeah.
So where did you go from there? This is such a big event to happen in your life. How do you all bounce back?
So even after all of that, we still believed in Jehovah's Witnesses. We still wanted to be witnesses. Deep down after that, though, we hated it. I mean, we just hated going to meetings, hated going in service. But we still tried to force ourselves to do it because, we thought it was the truth. We had, I still am absolutely furious at that elder, the service overseer, who, without him, it may never have gotten that bad. And, I'm trying to gain peace with that and just kind of let that go, but I'm still so angry about that. And I was back then too. And I actually talked to the elders once. I'm like, hey, listen, this is what happened. The service overseer pushed my wife to the point where, all this stuff happened. And I just can't let that go. And they're like, well, did you talk to him? Yeah. Well, then you have to let it go. And that's all they could tell me is just let it go. And someday I will let it go. I will.
But can we also say this is why pedophiles run rampant in the organization? Did you talk to somebody about it? Did they apologize or let it go? It's no big deal. Yeah. And obviously, for you, it gets back to acceptance, means letting go of the hope that things could have been different. The situation with your wife, it wasn't probably just about that one moment in time. It was probably about a culmination of things and her own, where she was in life in her own head and everything at that time. A lot of factors to why these things go down or how they get to that point. But sometimes it is one moment that kind of is the straw that breaks the camel's back for someone. And now that doesn't mean he put all the other straw there in the first place, but it was the last straw, right?
Yeah.
And regardless, it was hurtful. And you just, most of us are just seeking to be seen and heard and validated, and you're getting none of that from these people. They're not going to give you any of that. They're incapable.
And I should say that I am much more peaceful now about the whole thing, because now I can accept that the service overseer is just a garbage person, and not that he's appointed by Jehovah and, all this stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, it gets back to Jehovah's Witnesses have no empathy. Most of them, again, like you've said many times, it's all about keeping up appearances, and they need that appearance to reflect them or what they want. And the second it doesn't, they can't see you anymore. They're out of your peripheral, or you are out of their peripheral vision. Even you don't exist.
Yeah,
and they just don't have that program. They do not have the empathy program that has been systematically bred out of Jehovah's Witnesses for years and years and years. Because how else can you abide by a God who is going to murder 8 billion people around you so that you and your 8 million JW buddies can live on? Like, you have to have no empathy in order to live with that as your hope for life. So they just breed that out of you over time, and you just you don't have any love for anybody else. You don't have any compassion or empathy. Nobody shows it for you. You don't know how to show it for anybody else. They're all just blind, totally blind.
Yeah.
But it just creates a real narcissistic environment, and it's so unhealthy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm way happier being away from that now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, and what you're seeing is that your worldly people around you, they have the full range of emotions, and they can see you and they can feel you, and they can understand that, oh, you're getting married, you're happy. Oh, your wife just, attempted, you're sad. Right. And they're more concerned about your feelings than their own.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do want to clarify too that I didn't leave Jehovah's Witnesses because of this, because they always talk about, oh, well, you were stumbled because you were weak. No, I still was a witness after this for a very long time.
And can we also say, because I hate that you were weak bullshit, you were strong enough to have continued fighting through this to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses over and over and over and over. That is not weakness, okay? It's not healthy.
Right.
Well, there's a whole thing here we could break down. But, from their perspective, how could they say that's weakness when you have tried so hard, and your wife has tried so hard, and she's gotten to the point where she doesn't care about life anymore. Okay? So how can they say you don't care or you're weak or whatever? That's such a loser argument. It's just it's just another layer of shame that they're trying to heap upon you to get you to come back just one more time for the next round of abuse.
Yeah. Yeah. Come
back and get your ass kicked again.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Can I have another, I guess?
Yeah. The beatings will continue until morale improves. That's what it is.
Yeah. So yeah, that was around for the last couple of years we were witnesses. We hated it. Like, we would get dressed all for the meeting, get in the car, drive right past the Kingdom Hall, and then come home. Like, we'd call him on the phone sometimes, and we were really trying. But that, like I said, that wasn't what did it. So about a year and a half ago, I guess I'm just kind of moving forward through your questions. Is that okay if it's
no? This is a conversation. Go for
it. Okay. So about a year and a half ago, it was actually when I first started my faith first started cracking here. I like history. I love history. I'm interested in it. And I'm listening to this podcast about the Bronze Age because I'm a nerd and I have a favorite period of history, and that's the late Bronze Age. So I was listening to this podcast and it's talking about ancient Israel and all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. And then, then in the year 587, Babylon sacked the city of Jerusalem, and it kind of just kept going. I'm like, well, that's wrong. And I think I pulled up Wikipedia. I'm like, wow, Wikipedia's got this wrong too. And I started reading through the sources on Wikipedia. And then I realized nobody says Jerusalem was destroyed in 607. And I am amazed at the witnesses that know that and don't care, because that is the basis of Jehovah's Witnesses, is that Jerusalem was destroyed in 607. So in 1914, Jesus was king. So we are the truth. And so having that very core doctrine, learning that it's a lie, that shook me. That really shook me. And I am amazed at how, like, I've said that to most people in my family that that's not true. And they're like, yeah, so.
So we still have the best way of living, right? Look at how
no, you don't.
Yeah, isn't it true though? It's like 607. If 607 is wrong, and there's no 1914 when Christ began his invisible rule. I just love that it's invisible. Everything's invisible. Okay, so 1914 he begins his invisible reign. I think in 1919 they say that they were therefore chosen by Jesus to be God's representative on earth. Well, 1914 is wrong. 1919 didn't happen either, okay? And you're off by at least 20 years. At a minimum, there was also, I think, didn't they not account that for the fact that there's no zero year? So the math was wrong anyway, but they just made it work. They just forced it, and they've tried this. This was something that was tried over and over again. So it was, from the 1800s through the Great Disappointment and the Adventist movement and everything else that happened, the Millerites. And then finally, Russell, who has predicted date after date after date, finally, a broke clock's going to be right twice a day. He finally lands on a date where something happens, right? And then so that must be the date. Now they thought that was going to be Armageddon. And then, of course, Armageddon didn't happen then. So they just moved the goalpost again. But that's what they do.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, it's amazing to watch someone be like, you can disprove such a basic thing in their faith that so many things hinge on, and they don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know how people don't care. I actually told my wife when I learned about this, and she was just like, she didn't even know about it, actually. So apparently some witnesses don't even know about this.
That a lot of witnesses, again, it's a social club. They are just in it because the fear has been drilled into their head that they're going to be murdered by their God, and they just want to live. They're just human beings. They don't want to die. They want to have a hope. They want to feel special. There's so many emotional reasons that people are stuck in it. It's not really intellectual, because if it was, we could break that chain quickly. And if it's just intellectual and it's truly about having the truth, and you truly care about truth, then we can destroy that real fast. But it's not about that. It's about having their ears tickled, like they used to say. Right?
I think they complain about everyone else doing.
Right. And it's exactly what they're doing, trying to feel good. That's what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't think straight. This was driving me crazy with this knowledge. And I was trying to look into it more and more and more without, apostate resources, as they say. And I did, of course, run across, what they would consider apostate, what I would consider factually written, honest information, they would consider apostate. And part of that I ran across at this time was the Australia Royal Commission. And I mentioned earlier how, I was so like, how can anyone believe in Catholics with all the sex abuse? whoops, Jehovah's Witnesses are doing the same thing. Hundreds of victims just in Australia, and that just disgusted me. And like that was, I just read up on the court documents. You know, they have the video of what's his name in the governing body,
Jeffrey Jackson.
Yeah, saying that it'd be presumptuous to say they're the truth. Like, what do you mean that's presumptuous? That's literally what we teach.
Yeah, I thought you were supposed to be ready to make a defense before anyone demands it of you. Stack up, stand up, Mr. Jeffrey Jackson, and tell them, yeah, we are the truth.
Yeah. So all this is like
cowards.
Yeah, building up in my head, and I get to the point where, like, you know what, I'm just gonna go full apostate here, and so I downloaded Crisis of Conscience. I read through that. I read the whole book in 2 days, and by the time I got to the end of it, I'm like, this isn't the truth. This isn't the truth. And I realized that I couldn't keep pretending that it was. You know, I'm not a good liar. Like, and so it got to the point at one point because I realized, on one hand, I can't keep pretending I'm a Jehovah's Witness, but on the other hand, continuing not pretending means I lose potentially my wife, all my family, all my friends, my whole identity. I honestly was like, do I just kill myself at this point? Like, is that easier than trying to go through with this? Like, I only very briefly was on that topic, but I did get to that point at one point. And so I decided, like, well, I can't pretend, so my only option is to move forward. So I started like trying to drip feed my wife some of the stuff I was learning. And of course, instant, like, nope, don't want to hear it, don't want to think about it. Eventually, I was able to get her to sit down with me, and we read Crisis of Conscience together. Every single day we read one chapter together, and we got about halfway through the book, and it finally, what was it for her? She didn't know that in 1975 they predicted the world would end. And, you know, what I was told was, oh yes, a few people, you know, thought that, but that wasn't true. But then to see all the evidence that, yeah, that is what they predicted. I think that was kind of the last straw for her, and that kind of helped her wake up. So now both of us are out of Jehovah's Witnesses, which is, I'm very thankful that my wife was able to come with me. So I really, I started participating in like the ex-JWs subreddit. I'm on there quite a bit actually still. Your podcast actually is one of the things that really helped me. Just listening to other people's experiences kind of helped keep me sane. And for a while, I wanted to just kind of fade out. You know, I was in a different city from most people. I didn't really have any friends around here. So I just thought I can just fade out. Everyone back home will still think I'm a witness, and I'll just won't be one. But again, I'm a bad liar. So like I'd get together with my family and we'd be talking, and I just, for whatever reason, I don't know why I would say, but I'd say like, oh, did you see in the United Kingdom, they're doing a investigation into the sex abuse of Jehovah's Witnesses? It's dead silence. Like I shouldn't have said that, but I did. And so I realized fading out wasn't an option for me. I need to be true to myself and true to what I believe. And I don't, the other part of it was I didn't want to pretend to support an organization that has protected so many pedophiles. I couldn't feel good for doing that. So I really wanted to help my family get out. I wrote up a letter like explaining why I couldn't be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. Then I wrote up a second letter with all the apostate information. And then I actually drove around everybody in my family, hand delivered them these letters, and I said, look, I just can't be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. I don't believe it. I haven't for a long time. I got to be true to myself. You know, I can respect that you still believe in it, and you can respect that I don't. You know, here's a letter explaining why if you want to read it. And I don't think anyone read it. Nobody in my family apparently was able to provide that respect, because now no one will talk to me. my dad kicked me out of his house. He told me, and I'm pretty sure the exact quote was, "You're an idiot if you think this isn't going to change anything," and told me to leave his house. Yeah. My oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say it doesn't. So many of us have this desire to wake up our families to help them to see it. You were very fortunate that your wife listened eventually.
Yeah.
To get her to sit down. And I was going to ask you, what was it that got her to sit down with you to go through a chapter of Crisis of Conscience? Like, what finally made her say, okay, I'll do that?
I told her that I'm the head of the household and she has to listen to me.
Ah, the headship card. Yeah.
I hate the headship thing. I honestly, even when I was a witness, I was so uncomfortable with it, but I played it. I played the headship card.
Hey, you play what cards you have to in that. And in an unreasonable situation, sometimes we all have to do unreasonable things.
Yeah.
Things that we wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
Okay, so that helped in that situation. But you don't have a headship card to play when you go talk to your family. And I know what it means to people. We all want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to be validated. We want it to be okay. Hey, look, my door's open. We don't have to destroy this relationship just because I don't see one aspect of life or this religion as the truth anymore.
Right.
But for them, it's about who they are. It's not just a religion. It's who they are at their core. And when you start to say anything about Jehovah's Witnesses, to them, it feels like you are saying something about them as a human being, because they are so bought in, and it's really hard for them to separate it. And I can only imagine how brutal it was to go from, because you were talking to different family members and they weren't all in one household anymore, right?
No, I went individually.
Right. And so you're going individually, person by person, and having to explain this. That is, man, talk about not being weak. To have the strength to go to each of these people and explain to them where you are, to give them the letters, to know that you're probably not going to get a good response, but to take that chance anyway, that shows that you truly do care about them. And you were trying to, anything that comes from that is their choice. Anything negative that comes from that was their choice, because you were going to them with a hat in hand. Here we are. This is where I am. Let's move forward. And once again, you're going to Jehovah's Witnesses looking for the love. And where is it?
Yeah. No, yeah. Didn't get it.
Blocked by something.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really hoping that, I guess I was just hoping they'd understand, but obviously they didn't, but oh well. A couple weeks ago, I actually disassociated too. I don't know if they ever announced it, but I sent in my letter for that just because it's like, well, my family hates me anyway, so why should I even keep my name on the list? So I sent a letter to the congregation. I sent one to Bethel. That way they can't ignore it. I sent it certified, so I know they got it. And whether or not they announced it, I guess I don't really care. That's their deal.
Yeah, but you're done.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So, let me ask, so let's talk about that for a minute. Those of us who've had to write those of us who have chosen to write disassociation letters, we know what that feels like. How does it feel to sit down and, well, obviously you also wrote these letters to your family. How does it feel to sit down and write those things out?
Not good, to be completely honest. Terrible, it's like I'm accepting that, yeah, this is how it is now. Things are changed.
Yeah, there is an acceptance in that, though, isn't there?
There is.
I like that you use that term, because there's an acceptance that this is different now. It's not the same. I'm not going to pretend that it is the same. And I need to move forward, and you can come with me or not, but you've got to be you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you've grown past where they can go right now. Maybe someday in the future, they will grow and they will be able to come where you can go. But for now, they're small. They've stayed small and in a little tiny JW box, and that's where their lives reside. How does it feel after you've sent everything in? So your family shunned you, obviously, that sucks. You were not going for that. You didn't hope that would be the response.
Right.
So now you write your disassociation letter. How's it feel after you write your disassociation letter?
No, I feel awesome. Honestly, I feel good.
It's closure, isn't it?
This is going to sound kind of weird, but like, I almost thought something was wrong with me because I felt kind of weird. And then I realized I'm happy. Like, I'm actually happy with my life right now. I'm okay with the way things are. I don't have this foreboding dread hanging over me at all times that Armageddon's going to be here and I'm not doing enough. Now it's awesome. I feel free.
That is so great. I love that for you, to see you feel happy. Afterward, I can say the same thing after I disassociated. Writing the letters and everything was very difficult. But as soon as I sent it off, I knew it was a done deal. I don't know. There's something that happens. It's closure. It just feels done.
Yeah, it's behind me.
Yeah, it's behind me. I can move on. I don't care what any of those people think anymore.
Yeah.
My life it's kind of like reclaiming your life, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And like, this is mine now. And then moving on to whatever you want to do. So let's talk about it. So you've got this. Well, first of all, let me ask you, and I know this is fairly fresh, right? How long have you been? You said you just disassociated a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah. I think it was right around Christmas. So that would have been 6 weeks,
That's
4 weeks.
Pretty good Christmas or New Year's present to yourself.
Right?
I left the cult.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you? So you're out and you've been shunned by your family, but like, is there anything that has changed or that you would like to say to your family who shuns you now, that maybe wasn't in those letters? Or is there something I know you haven't had much time away from it. It's only been, 6 weeks or whatever, but just a little, do you have a different perspective after just 6 weeks? Is there anything that you would like to say to them?
It just sucks. I guess if I were to talk to my family now, I guess I'd say it sucks that this is what you want. It's not what I want. I can agree to disagree. And I thought we were close, and it sucks that I thought we were a loving family and that you can just throw me away, just because I have a difference of opinion. I honestly think everyone in my family would be happier if they weren't witnesses, but that's their choice. I can respect that they want to stay a witness, even though I don't agree with that decision. But I guess I wish you were mature enough that we could have mutual respect, is what I would say. Yeah.
Mutual respect. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's what most of us would like, right? To be able to have family in our lives, but this one subject doesn't have to dominate everything.
Yeah.
Of course, for them, it's their whole life.
It is.
It's what they live, think, feel, breathe. It's everything to them. It is their life.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can still have good moments with them apart from that. But it's so difficult once that breaks down. I remember even in my own family, my wife and I would go see my parents, and we had agreed not to talk about the witness stuff anymore. And there was just nothing to talk about. They had nothing to talk about. We were starting to develop other things to talk about, and they were stuck. There was nothing else I don't know, what are they going to talk about other than going to the latest meeting or gossiping about who did what in the congregation, or some new light or something like that. There's just nothing else to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's just really sad. So, well, I hope that someday, at least somewhere in there in your family, there is some of that respect developed, and some opening to have a correspondence or relationship with at least somebody. It for a lot of us, I mean, the statistics, Jehovah's Witnesses retention statistics are not great.
Yeah.
So I'm saying there's a chance.
Oh, yeah. Well, things change so quick. I mean,
they do.
A year before I disassociated, I turned over one of my friends to the elders because I feel bad about this. And I'm sure he's going to listen to this. So you know who you are, and I apologize. But he had sex with his girlfriend and was really confiding in me. Like, I don't know what to do. I love her. She's not a witness. And I, just told everything he said to me to the elders. That was a year before I disassociated. So things can change quick. So I'm hopeful that, maybe in a year or two, things will calm down and, be better. I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure he understands that you were just doing the thing you thought was right. You thought you were helping him. It's just the witnesses make up seem like down and down seem like up. It's so confusing. And most of us, the intent wasn't to harm. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's still all there. I haven't been there in a long time, but there was just this worldly online forum that I used to go to and talk to people about stuff. And somebody had posted on there sometime about Jehovah's Witnesses and child sexual abuse. And if the archive is still there, I'm sure I'm there saying, that's lies. That's not true. That's not true at all. And I'm sure it wasn't that long before, I realized that it wasn't the truth as well. So yes, things can change really quickly. And it also just really shows how flimsy the truth is, that, boy, the second you start to see it, it all starts crumbling really quickly a lot of times, because it's just a house of cards.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is kind of crazy. Once you see the cracks in it, it's nothing.
There's no substance to it.
No, now I read the literature or watch the videos, and I'm like, what is this? They're not saying anything.
Yeah. And I don't know, have you already got to the point where, I remember hitting that point where I could see something of theirs and be like, I cannot believe that I, Michael Shimwell, believed that crap.
Oh, yeah.
How in the world did I believe that?
I was just reading up on my Pioneer School textbook and reading through that, and it's like, wow, I believed this. This is garbage.
Yeah, absolutely. It is striking once you wake up to it, to look at it, and it's just mind-boggling that I would have ever believed any of that. But you're raised in it. Everyone that you know and love and respect believes it, and they're telling you it's right. And so, of course, you're going to believe it, at least for a time.
Yeah.
And everyone's time is different. But, okay, so now you are officially out. And I know it's not been a long time, but what do you like about being free? What do you like about your new life? And what do you want? Do you have anything yet that you've determined that you want to explore or go for in life?
I kind of want to try everything if I can, I guess. I applied for a promotion where I work, and it's like a manager type job, and it's the type of job I never would have applied for as a witness, because it would be, you're not supposed to take your career seriously. And I'm really excited to actually be able to focus on my career and really try to, build a good career, I guess, because you're not supposed to do that as a witness. We want to buy a house. We want to have some kids. I never got to experience, Christmas as a child, but I want to have a kid, and give them that, give them the experiences I was denied, and, see what that was like for them. Yeah, I'm excited about the future. The pandemic kind of sucks because it's slowing everything down, but what are you going to do? So yeah, I'm just excited for everything right now.
That's awesome. I love the excitement. I appreciate you telling your story. I mean, especially this is fresh. I know it's fresh. I appreciate you, being willing to open up about it all. And I think so many people are going to be able to resonate with this because so many of us have lived a Jehovah's Witness life where you just kept running and running and running on that treadmill, never getting anywhere, looking for the love, looking for something to anchor to, because there just wasn't, so much of it just wasn't real. It was, what were we doing for all of that time? And now Jehovah's Witnesses love, and I hate this expression. I think it's so manipulative now that I'm out, but they talk about how they have the real life. No, they don't. They live in a fairy tale.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have an opportunity to have a real life, that, where you can feel the full range of emotions and be who you are, and have other people that care for you with the full range of emotions, and find healthy things and things that make you happy. And what more can you want?
Yeah, definitely.
All the things that we were promised we could have in some fictional paradise, a lot of these things now you can start to find for yourself in this life. And it's really beautiful when you do. So I'm glad that you got that chance.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the future. That's I guess that's pretty new for me too. Just being hopeful for the future, being excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we were taught that the future was just going to be awful, and we were going to be put in concentration camps and all this horrible stuff. And that's not necessarily the case at all.
No, not at all.
And you get to determine what your future is by and large. And, life is yours now. You get to own your own story going forth and decide what it is going to be, instead of living a narrative that you were told you had to live your whole life. All right, man. Well, I appreciate it, and I have fun exploring.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited.